The clerk of the board is, and I'm getting a letter and I will share it with you. I should get it this week. She's putting it in writing. That the clerk of the board is a position that should have been on your conflict of interest, simply because the clerk of the board is a statutory position by Government Code 25100, which he didn't mention. So there's been a lot of back and forth with this position, but it is a standalone position that the statute, the Government Code, says that ordinarily it would go to the county clerk. The Board of Supervisors in 2007 chose to give it back. It was under the Board of Supervisors. It was a separate position under the Board of Supervisors, reported to the Board of Supervisors. With 531, I believe it's 532, but you decided in all your wisdom to give it back to the county clerk in her department. It is a standalone position. And the FPPC is going now to require Susan Osgood to file a 700 form because it is a statutory position. She does fulfill that position. She signs. There's nothing wrong with filling out a 700 form.
She already does.
Did I get a copy of it?
Did you ask for it?
Did you ask?
A couple of days ago.
I got a message yesterday asking for several, and the ones for this year are not quite due until April 1st.
Yours is on there.
I understand that.
Okay. And
I didn't say I found it yet. I have up until April 1st.
April 1st. We'll be looking forward to that. So anyway, the FPPC states that even though you failed to put clerk of the board on your, which is what we were trying to find out, because the way it's done now, presently, is that clerk of the board is exempt from conflicts. FPPC said yesterday, absolutely, the clerk of the board position is not exempt, even though you failed to put it on the, Mr. Burns has, I understand, told the FPPC that county clerk / recorder is all-inclusive. But unless clerk of the board is on there, he told, I'm sorry, I'm getting secondhand through the FPPC, said that because county clerk / recorder is all-inclusive, that they don't need to put clerk of the board. Clerk of the board is a very significant position in this county. It's even governed, the duties are governed and outlined in Government Code 25100. So just to let you know, I'm getting a letter saying that she's not exempt, and the clerk of the county clerk, who serves as the clerk of the board, is not exempt. So whether you put it on there or not, now we have knowledge that if they violate, when they violate the financial interest, they are accountable for it, even though you think by not placing it on your conflict of interest code, she's still.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the time to make your point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Seems like you're lost of words.
No, I'm just watching the facial expressions. It's quite interesting.
Whatever. Thank you, sir. Okay. I give you a motion to approve H1.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We'd like to modify, take minutes from September 3rd, 2014.
23rd?
23rd, 2014.
Yeah, okay.
Pass them separately.
You want
Yes,
to
okay,
separate?
he was not there.
Yeah.
Mr. Hammond was not present for the other two.
Oh, I was going for that.
Right, that's why they're.
So let's take
Well,
September.
not to pick a fight,
Okay.
but I did do a little research on the proposition about whether board members who were not seated at the time could pass upon minutes. And I'm under the impression, more than under the impression, that there's no specific legal bar to doing so. Now, I think the policy of this board has been, if there's a sufficient number of votes to pass upon the question, aside from those who were not seated at the time, then the matter could be conducted with those persons that sit on the board. If there aren't a sufficient number to establish the requisite number to pass upon the issue, then the rule of necessity might apply. And that would mean essentially that, it doesn't just mean we stop conducting business because perhaps we don't have a quorum of the board who are now here that weren't present then. And so board members are always free to go back and listen to the audio tape, just like other folks have done, and reach conclusions about what happened on the day in question.
Let's
For whatever it's worth.
Jim, suppose we make one motion and you just abstain.
Okay.
And that's consistent with that.
Okay, I have a motion to take minutes of September 23rd, February 24th, and March 3rd.
Well, the question comes down to it is, the motion was made by,
I mean, I wasn't
and he
here.
wasn't in attendance
No, you
either,
weren't
so
here.
that kind of.
All right.
Withdraw your motion.
Let's go on, I wasn't on.
Let's have a motion on the minutes of September 23rd.
Make the motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2014.
The motion in the second, any discussion? Mrs. Spencer?
You were there. I watched the video this morning.
That's not a problem.
Yeah. and-
I didn't get a copy.
Yeah, Mr. Herring was there.
Check that.
It was the minutes of March 3rd that he wasn't there.
No, September 23rd.
You just said his name was listed on
Yeah.
it.
He's listed right there.
And Mr. Hammond was there.
He said, you guys said he wasn't, he said he actually was.
Well, these two he was absent from. Jeff was absent.
Yes, Jeff was absent.
Right.
How do you know that the video you're watching is from that day? Who checked that? Just asking.
Mrs. Spencer has the point to make.
The September 23rd, no, it wasn't about, I just wanted to make that as a point. The September 23rd, towards the end of the meeting, the minutes that you're proposing to approve do not reflect accurately what happened. Like I say, I listened to the audio and watched the video this morning. There's quite a discussion at the end of the meeting on September 23rd about the RFP. However, the motion is really unclear. You took a vote on at the end, and we're going to isolate that vote and the motion and everything. But the motion did not state that you're including all the changes in the resolution and the documents. You just voted, and I believe that was the agenda item, was to approve the RFP. However, the motion does not state specifically that you're changing a resolution, you're amending a resolution, and you are changing documents. This appropriately should have been a discussion to make these changes. And then once these changes, they were significant changes. You took out documents, you took out the resolution. It went from 72 pages to 58 in a matter of months. This discussion should have not ended in a vote, which was not clear what you even voted on, to amend the resolution to take these documents out. But it should have been discussion and brought back to another meeting for approval. You had no idea when you voted that. I mean, it was significant. It was over an hour of changes. Mr. Albom made some good points. Mr. Chapman made some good points. You didn't vote on approving the changes. You voted to approve the RFP as it was. And you can check the audio and the video again. Oh, you don't want to look at the video.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
do the minutes look, does anybody have a problem with the minutes out of here? Seeing no supervisor, Mr. Burns, do you have a problem with the minutes out of here?
I don't have a problem with the minutes, sir.
Mr. Egan?
I do not.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Okay, it's on record
Okay.
that you're approving something that didn't happen. I just want that on the record, that you did not approve.
And I'll have it on the record, that's your opinion. Thank you very
No,
much.
the minutes don't, they don't even match up with your audio. So if you want to approve something you didn't discuss, that's fine. It's just the way this board operates.
That's for sure. We need a motion, where are we going to go start with? I lost the place.
You have a motion on the floor.
September 23rd, you have a motion.
Correct, thank you. All in favor, and a second, no more discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Can't see.
Jeff, say. Now, the next 7 minutes.
February 24th, I move we pass minutes from February 24th and March 3rd.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Aaron, second. Any discussion?
I abstain on the
Yes, please. No other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you. H2, grant award and probation department.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
members of the board,
Welcome.
Clerk. I'm Erin Metcalf. I'm here from the probation department. I'm here to give the recommendation of awarding the Community Recidivism Reduction Grant Funds to Lassen Family Services.
Question? Aaron, got a couple?
On attachment D, Bob?
Okay, hang on, let me catch up to you. Attachment D
Yes.
to the agreement?
Yes, under attachment D, general provisions.
Yes.
What page you on, David?
I think it's enumerated that way. It's
Probably
attachment D.
about-
After C and before E.
Yeah.
Sorry,
All right, John.
apologize. Yes, sir.
I can get
Yes.
even with you.
D 1.1.
D 1.1.
Contractor shall determine the method, details, and means of performing the services provided by the contractor, to be provided by the contractor.
Yes.
Is that, I mean, we're just gonna say, okay, go do whatever you want, however you want?
That's a great question. It's very important that we make note of the proposition that Lassen Family Services or whomever would be awarded this agreement is essentially serving as a contractor. And I use that word contractor in stark difference from employee. It's very significant in the law because to the degree that they're a contractor, we don't, number one, control the details of the work. We essentially have scope of work, and then they go out and do it, and they control the details of how they get to that conclusion. As compared to an employee who reports directly to a supervisor, and we give specific direction on method and manner of performing particular tasks and timeframes and the like. And there's significant differences in the law as it relates to our liability as the county for acts of contractors as compared to acts of employees. And so this is a standard term, but done for a very specific reason, and that is to distinctly establish that they are a contractor rather than an employee, and for that purpose, we are essentially giving them the ability to control the details of the work. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. It's a legal demarcation point between employee versus contractor, and it's important because sometimes contracts blur the lines. If the employee/contractor has a car wreck, just an example, while on the way to do something pursuant to the agreement. The question is were they an employee, were they a contractor, and if they're at fault, are we responsible for any injuries that they might have caused along the way? Maybe if they're an employee we are, but as a contractor, whole different analysis. Okay? One example of how that manifests itself. Hope I answered your question.
You did. And that kind of goes and ties into D 1.2.
Well, I'll tell you that all of D1 is about independent contractor, and all of the hallmarks of what distinguishes someone in an employment relationship from being a contractor versus an employee. You know, the ability to control the details of the job. Do we provide a place for them to work? Do we provide them with equipment to do the job? Those are, and so yes, in response to your question, D.12, all of those D.1s, all the way down to D.19, are related to that same topic, sir.
Okay, because I saw in the second to the last sentence, with respect to physical actions or activities. It raised a red flag in my mind.
And so this attachment D that you're seeing is an attachment that has been added into the standard form Lassen County contract for professional services, essentially, standard county contract. There's other standard attachments. There's an attachment E, which is the new third-party beneficiaries attachment. But this particular attachment was crafted in the way that it was crafted. It's been in place for a number of years. I think County Council Settlemyre may have created it. And it's been reviewed by Mr. Hout, who's providing us with some assistance in evaluating our contracts. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you go back and look at the majority of the contracts that you've passed upon already, these exact same terms will have been included. And we look forward to including them in the future so we can protect this to the greatest degree possible.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
You like that?
I do.
There you go.
Very good, Mr. Any more questions? If not, it's required the fourth-fifth vote. So I think we can take them all in one motion. The other motion.
Yes, I would move approval of each two.
For 1 through 4. Yeah, with 2 of them, then you get increase in appropriations.
If you like, I can address the requirement for the purpose. So since we received this grant in the middle of the year, it's not within the budget. So what we propose to do is increase both revenue and expenditures because we're passing this through to the Lassen Family Services.
So, yes, Bob, answer your question. I wish you approve H2 would include all the actions 1 through 4.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Motion and second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, over to Madam Clerk for the order.
Supervisor Chapman?
Aye.
Supervisor Oliver?
Aye.
Supervisor Hatfield?
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond?
Aye.
And Supervisor Howard?
All right. Thank you. With that, we will go to H3, Sheriff Department training.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have a packet from the authorization to travel for 2 people to attend correctional corps and rest and firearms procedure in Marysville, Utah College. This, I'm sorry.
We all know you do.
Yeah.
For the record.
Kevin Jones, Captain Lassen, Sheriff's Office. I apologize. Got ahead of myself. This traditionally comes to you in form of consent agenda. The reason it's on for regular agenda is we wanted to stress that this is the 12th, these are the 12 people we will send to Corps this year. And that has to do with our just dramatic turnover rate. It goes hand in hand with the budgets that were proposed last year that we requested an increase in our training line, and we will be requesting another increase as the budget process goes into next year. It's very tough to keep employees, and Some employees leave for different reasons. For the most part, when we do our exit interviews, it's, we have some real hard competition in the form of 2 state prisons and a federal prison. We're never going to get there. I don't think anyone's naive enough to believe that we are going to pay what the state of California pays. Just not going to happen. But we can make strides there. And benefit package, salary, and I know that there's a negotiation process that we're not even going to address, but we just want to tell you that, we have to train these people. We don't have a choice. What you have here is a cheap packet because we got a closer academy. Everyone has to go within a year of their employment. So it is cheaper because it's in Marion. Traditionally, we use Fresno, we use Santa Rosa, and it's 4.5 to 6 weeks. So this package is just under $7,000. You've seen some in excess of $7,500 to $8,000. We get $1,000 a person back from STC reimbursement. So they give us 2, and we're putting out 7. So again, this is nothing more than information we wanted you to know. Again, this is the 12th person that we're sending. We might get one more in to make it 14 before July, but our training and conference line is maxed out. So
Thank you, Kevin. I think Jim's got a question.
Yeah, just 2 questions.
Yes,
One,
sir.
this being the 12th, these are the 12 people to go in this year. What provisions do we have to preclude them from, once they complete the core and come back for a brief period of time, is moving on to one of the various competitive agencies that you've already alluded to? And we basically function as a training program for others.
And unfortunately, there is nothing, Mr. Chapman. I met with a background investigator from CDC a week and a half ago who was doing backgrounds on 2 people. Friday they're scheduled to come in and talk about 3. There's zero. There's nothing. We can't. We're so hamstrung with the law that we have to have these people trained within a year. And yes, they can choose to go somewhere else.
And the second question is, given the fact this is happening at Utah College in Marysville, and you've talked about Fresno and Santa Rosa, what is the prospect or likelihood of having a core program developed with Lassen College, and maybe we bring these kind of people not only for our own needs, but from other areas coming to, let's say, Lassen College for this kind of training?
So many years ago, Mr. Chapman, if you recall, the undersheriff, John Mino, actually coordinated that. They did put on a core course, and we had over 10 students. The hardest problem is getting them all in one place at one time and getting people to come to Susanville for 4.5 weeks. Everyone, from Shasta to Trinity to Siskiyou, to send someone over to Susanville for 4.5 weeks, it's not good for them.
Well, if you look at it, if you're saying that and that's true, it's not good for us because we have to send our people out of here. So I think it's a two-way street, and I think it's something that, given the fact that we've had 12 that we've had to deal with in this one, given that would have given you 2 extra people in your 10 people class that you could have had possibly here at Lassen College. So we ought to look at that as a possible partnership and maybe developing a program, because this is obviously going to be an ongoing issue. And if we're going to be having 10, 12 people, so far we could have even more before this fiscal year is over with. Where you're coming back, I'm looking at $6,300, $7,000. This is rounded off times 10. That's $70,000 that instead of being spent at these various other core academies, maybe could have been spent at Lassen College, hosting a core academy that could have handled all of our people that we've already sent, plus maybe others who might want to come and be here, because it's maybe more convenient for somebody to go from Trinity to Susanville than Trinity to Fresno. As an example, I would say probably if we're competing with San Jose, the Trinity guys probably would send Santa Rosa, they probably would go there because it's just probably as far. But you've got MoDOT, you've got Siskiyou, you've got other counties around that I'm sure that are sending people to training as well. This is an ongoing thing.
So, Mr. Chapman, I agree with you 100%. And let me make one thing clear, that our 832 program, we have been working with the college, and we've been doing that portion with the college. So we do have a great partnership with them. To get 12 people in, it wouldn't be possible. And the reason is because those 12 people now have started since July, actually August. So they've trailed all these months. For us to even take half that 6 and say for 4.5 weeks, you're going to go to class every day, we wouldn't be able to staff the facility. So, and I agree. And so the time they did that was when they had a big increase in staff. Sheriff Gerald was here at the time, and they literally put 12 people in that class. They did get some feeder counties, but they had the ability, so all those people just started, they hadn't hit the schedule, they weren't needed at that time, so they had the opportunity to do that. Ideally, I agree. I mean, and the undersheriff and I have talked about that recently, and we've sat there and we've tried to squash that schedule, and there's just no way we can do it.
Okay. That's a comment, please.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to kind of feed into what Jim was saying with maybe holding class up here at Lassen College for the same deal. I mean, if you could maybe schedule it with the college during the summertime, and maybe because, I mean, you look here at the rooming of some of these places, I mean, it's very expensive. And if you could coordinate it in the summertime where people can stay in the dorms, and it would cut down that, you know, for 4.5 weeks, you know, at $70, $60 a day at a motel room versus $20 a day up there. It could make it very much more attractive for other counties to send their recruits up here to the school. So it's just.
I agree. And if you recall earlier in the fiscal year, the board approved 4 additional correctional officers. That was the one time this year that we sent all 4 because they didn't truly affect the schedule. You know, you have to have literally 12 to 15. And I believe we can get some of those. There's a new AJ coordinator at the college, started a couple months ago, and I think she's very progressive that way. I think that she's going to try and do that. And if we can get to a spot where we can get 4 people, 4 people's not that bad. Now if we can get 6 or 8 from feeder counties, that's something that could occur. The problem is we're so sporadic with our hiring. We don't know. You know, so there's 5 people. I don't know if they'll be gone in 2 months or 8 months. I know they're going to be gone.
You know, I think, you know, we're operating, if I could, Mr. Chairman, we're operating under a kind of a reactive mode, but knowing that we have an ongoing need, how about promoting a core training program as a prospectus for potential employees out there who may want to look at a future career working with the county and the sheriff's department, that go and take this course, you know, this summer, this fall, whatever, and then that puts them at the top of the list for consideration for hiring, you know, next spring or the following spring. So instead of being reactive, wait till we hire them and then say, okay, let's deal with the core thing. Let's look at getting a core program going that people can attend and utilize as a precursor to getting hired, so they're not in the schedule and they're not impacting. I think, you know, the fact that you've had 12 so far, and it could be more this year, indicates to me a great need to be proactive rather than reactive.
And I agree, Mr. Chapman, and I think that we're doing that. And again, I think working with the AJ coordinator, and if we can get the numbers right to do that, I mean, we don't want to send them away. We would love for them to stay here. And there's some other logistics, but, you know, I think Mrs. Grauman's going to work towards that.
And I think, you know, to speak as an example, it wasn't that long ago, the California Correctional Center in High Desert, you know, obviously dealing with their chronic understaffing and meeting, they were successful at getting a core academy that the correctional officers have to attend located up here. And because of that, we had a large number of local residents who participated, got that training, got the ability. And the good news was that, you know, they don't go back to their communities and then look at transferring to come here. They're people, this is their community, and their retention rate of COs that they were able to keep out of that. Now, obviously, the Sacramento Academy was a little bit jealous of the fact that this satellite took place, and they quickly shut it down because they saw themselves losing maybe some of their bodies coming to them to justify their existence. And so you have those kind of turf wars. But I don't think that necessarily would undermine what we have here, because we're talking about a significant amount of money, and we're talking about 12 of them so far, and I think we really need them. And maybe the new AJ coordinator can use her influence for some good. And I know somebody who knows her very well that could probably facilitate that.
Yeah, we do. And just to make another note on the progressive, I mean, I think we are doing some things. We work real close with Alliance for Workforce, Terry Heiser-Haynes, and all our new employees are coming through the internship. We are funneling money back into the county by that. So we're doing good things, and we are proactive. But I mean, ideally, that's where we would love to be, is have something where we can do it locally, and we're going to work towards that. It's just about getting the numbers.
Yeah,
Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, of the 10 people that we've trained, are they all still working? Kind of along the lines of Jim's question.
All but 2. We've only lost 2.
Okay.
for you, is that kind of traditional 20% we thought?
Well, we've had a real extreme turnover, I think, in the last 18 months. And we have people, we're trying to, not weed through them, but when we bring people in for, especially the administrative interview with the sheriff, we want, where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 or 5 years? We want you to stay here. And we think we're getting good feedback. Obviously, the sheriff and the undersheriff came to you with the academy proposal. So people who see there's different things they can do. We're trying to develop some more jobs within the jail, so you're just not a correctional officer. You might be programs, you might be court, things like that. So we're really trying to promote that.
Okay, any more questions? We have a motion to approve this.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Tom, second. Second from Aaron. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr.
We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back with the marijuana conversation.
Isn't that what he's after? Yeah.